Gerald Steinberg, who teaches at Bar-Ilan University. He's the president of NGO Monitor. Professor Steinberg, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
I want to start with you because you were quite critical of this rally, the left-wing or left-leaning rally that took place in Tel Aviv over the course of the last weekend. Why so?
First of all, you talked about the polarization, and this rally, like many of the other activities that take place during the election period, is polarizing. But in addition, there was a lot of funding, and it was foreign funding, it was amorphous funding. The organization, and you have the CEO of at least one of the organizers in the studio who can talk about this, but the question is, are these in fact registered as Israeli nonprofits? So we had this V15 organization, there are at least 3 or 4 of these, with a lot of money. You see their placards all over the place, their signs, you see the activities that they do. If they're effective or not, it's hard to tell. They have beer and pizza parties. That's American money in this case that's coming in to influence Israeli politics, huge amounts of it. And unlike other aspects, and those are all problematic, of large amounts of foreign money coming into Israel, these groups are not even registered. They're not subject to the laws of the country, to the requirements of the nonprofit registry. So citizens don't know who's behind this, how it's coming in, and there's really no way to protest that kind of protest activity. It does do a lot of damage to democracy through the polarization and through other aspects in really trying to shift the focus of the elections from some of the critical issues that we have.
Well, let's discuss the money, for example, to begin with, but start with Dror Ben-Ami. I'm going to give you the stage to try and answer that, because the criticism that foreign money was being funneled into the demonstration at the Tel Aviv rally, of the left-leaning rally over the course of the weekend, is not one that we've heard for the first time over the course of the last week. So, is it true?
Well, first of all, Million Hands is registered in Israel. It's a non-profit. V15 works with Kol Echad, which is also registered as a non-profit. So immediately we have disinformation being thrown, I mean, like mud. And that's a shame. Second of all, I can speak for Million Hands, not for V15. The rally was not a V15 rally, it was a Million Hands rally.
Right.
So again, another bit of disinformation. The placards were seen and it was open to the public. I saw various placards of various parties that chose to come to the rally, like any public citizen could come. So it was a Million Hands rally, and our funding is mixed. We get funding from Israel. We started the organization with our own money, my own money, my friends' money, friends of friends. And as what we do, or as our activity has grown, we've attracted some more funding, and it has come from people, individuals in Israel, individuals in the U.S., individuals in Australia. It's a mix. It's a mix of funding. It's by the law. It's allowed. You can do it on the right. You can do it on the left. Everything is by the book, and it's a mix of funding. It's certainly not just
funding aside. Then, what was
funding.
the agenda? What came? How did this rally come about?
This rally came about. Million Hands started as a campaign supporting the Prime Minister and the Likud when they were in dialogue with the Palestinians in 2013. We're an ad hoc campaign. We're not the peace industry. Don't get funding. I don't get paid.
But the funding aside, the agenda of the rally was what?
Well, coming into the elections, we decided to be active again, and we just saw a need for the Israeli public to show its anger. There's just a huge amount of anger at the lack of leadership displayed by the Prime Minister and by the Likud, who's kind of become quite an extreme party, both in the political level, but also ignoring the plight of citizens, ignoring the hardship that citizens face. Israel is a prosperous country, yet there's no trickle-down effect to the citizens. And this rally was about a show of anger, a show of strength, and then a message to people watching at home: don't be apathetic, go and vote for change.
Lord, I'm going to turn to you because you're representing, of the right persuasion, of the right-wing persuasion, so to speak. And I mean, you're sitting very uncomfortably in your chair, but that said,
well,
there's also
one of the occupation of a leftist activist or intellectual is to ignore the facts. Well, isn't it a fact that the opening of a Million Hands a couple of years ago was at the Australian embassy in a huge party? Wasn't it? party, wasn't it? And I think the entire scene of those elections is spotted by incredible intervention by the American administration, by anti-democratic groupings. Like at 12, there's going to be a press conference by a group of generals and ex-Mossad and Shabak, which is hugely anti-democratic scene. I mean, you can imagine the next prime ministers, whoever it will be, and not the coming one, maybe the other, he will always feel that that those security bigwigs are going to somehow undermine him in the next coming years. And what is the effect on the IDF and the security services when they see this kind of political involvement by generals? So I don't think that there is an equal kind of split in the nation. There's one way of, the media is united in constant barrage on Netanyahu personally.
Is the media united in constant barrage?
Sure. And also what he said about the lack of leadership. And I think Israel now has great leadership, and Netanyahu showed it just last week in Congress. And those.
By the way, I have to stop you, because there's those who will argue that if there's American involvement in Israeli politics, that the Netanyahu there's an Israeli involvement in American politics. It seems like,
yeah, but
the party goes around.
I remember that about a month ago, State Secretary James Baker said that if Bibi comes to Congress, there are good chances that he will lose his chair. I wonder what he meant by this.
Me too.
That he lose his premiership.
He will lose position. But back to the rallies. Case in point, though, this coming Saturday, another rally, a right-wing rally, is being organized. It seems like the battle over the Rabin Square, I'm quoting an article right now, is being organized also in Rabin Square.
Sure.
Why is that okay and the other rally not okay?
First of all, I'm not. I didn't say that the rally last Saturday is not okay. I mean, in a democracy, you can do any rally you want to, and if people come, it's okay. I don't take this kind of position. I do think that foreign money is meddling in Israeli politics and Israeli public affairs and Israeli elections, but a rally and a demonstration is perfectly right.
Is foreign money involved in both cases?
Well, I think, again, there's mudslinging. When Million Hands started, we had about 40,000 signatures by the time we did a function at the Australian Embassy, and there was support in the government. The Australian government has been very supportive of the Israeli government. It's one of the few friends that Israel has had from Western nations.
Sure.
No, let me finish. So that's an important point. Second of all, Netanyahu raises all of his campaign money from the U.S. I mean, what is it, over $1 million shekels from the U.S., not from Israelis? So what does that say about foreign intervention and interfering in Israeli sort of politics? So there are laws. In our case, in Million Hands' case, the funding is diverse, and a lot of it is coming from Israelis. It actually is. So let's keep the facts on the table and respect each other, because the laws go both ways. They go to the right, they go to the left. We all have to respect the laws.
But I want to bring us back to the whole notion of the polarization. The polarization is something that always existed. That said, it does feel as if this election, this round of election, this time in Israel, the split is so severe that it's either left and right, and it has become the Bibi election. Also that, I mean, there are those who would argue, maybe you can help me out with this one, Mr. Oppenheimer, that being a leftist is considered a curse word.
Sometimes in some places I think that the situation is changing a bit, and there is a feeling in this election, first of all, that there is a real chance to see a different result than the one that we are used to see during the last few election time, and it's not really clear who is going to be the prime minister. And I think that this is the main reason why we see it's such a diverse election. It's such an emotional one, because there is a real fight and there is a real tension in the air and in the street. Still, I have to say that it's maybe it's not a polite election, but it's not violent. It's not. I don't feel a fear in the street to put out a sign. And I remember as a teenager much more dangerous environments during election time. So I think that there is a much place to go down. I hope we are not going to go there. And I feel that there is a feeling of commitment of the Israeli public to this election. My guess that the percentage of voting will be higher than last time. And regarding the funding, I have to say that when you don't have any answers, you go to the funding. Eventually, on this Saturday night, with million hands or not, thousands of Israelis came to the square. I didn't see any booth giving people money in order to come to the demonstration. This was a need of the Israeli public to speak out. What we see all around the country with people going out and asking for change, this is a need, an authentic need of the Israeli public. If there is also a support by some people from abroad, that's true. There is also support for the settlers and for the right wing all the year. But you cannot ignore the willingness of people to speak out, including people that were very friendly, good supporters of Netanyahu that are now speaking out and working against him, some of them giving their own money in order to change the reality in Israel. And this is a big question mark for Likud and Netanyahu, how you get to this situation that all the people that you work with are now working against you. It's not just about money. It's not that people are coming to demonstrate against Netanyahu because they're getting money in their pockets. They are doing it because they feel that Israel needs some change in the political leadership.
I mean, when it comes to, change in political leadership, I do think, though, I'll beg to differ when it comes to, not violence physically, but the violence, the verbal violence that people are hearing in Israel these days alone, before I continue.
I would say this, Yariv is right that there is no tension on the streets. The violence or the nastiness of the campaign is on the air, mainly. But also, let's... what Yair Garbus said is something from the gut of the Israeli left, which is completely racist.
Give an explanation. Yair Garbus,
I would also say
stood on stage. What did he say? Just remind our viewers what Yair Garbus said.
He started with characterizing the opponents, the right wing, as
right.
As murderers of prime ministers,
who go to paganism and whatnot.
As people who tend to paganism and kissing mezuzahs, and rapists and thieves. This is, I don't know, it's really taken from the Stürmer. It's something that's taken from anti-Semitic culture.
And I want to divert all of your attention. Listen, Yair Lapid, another contender also that is running for a center-left, so to speak, faction for his party, Yesh Atid. There was an image that came out yesterday, and I think we have that Yair Lapid image, and there we go. And that's Yair Lapid donning, SS
it's hard
uniforms.
to believe. I mean,
I mean, but this is when we're talking about the mudslinging. What you just said right now, Garbus going on stage saying that Yair Lapid being, who published this yesterday? That was published by Meowdeer. I mean, that came out by, obviously, the right-wing opposition to him and to his agenda. So it's that discourse that I'm wondering out loud with everybody that's sitting at this table. How can that discourse be bridged? I don't know how we got here. It's very sad. I think you will agree with me. But, apropos, you're saying it's the Stürmer of what Garbus says, and then we're seeing Yair Lapid in those uniforms.
I think, first of all, the system in Israel...
The resources of stupidity are taken
abundant,
even.
that's for sure.
I think that what we see in this election, that every party is trying to aim exactly to the people that are going to vote for the same party. It's not that the parties are trying to reach for new audience. People are, the leaders are speaking directly to their people, and in order to create some commitment of these people, they have to speak with their message.
That's incredibly dangerous, because in order to raise a reaction, things like that happen. Garbus goes on stage, says what he says. Yair Lapid is Who stops it? That's what I'm asking.
I think that we have 4 more days for that, and I hope that we will see, or less than a week, and I hope that we will see a government that will be able to unite some of the faction in the Israeli society and look at about the big challenges coming ahead. I think that unity is a very important thing in every society, but it's not the alibi not to do anything and just not to make anyone angry and just to restart. So, but I think that in many ways the last government was totally diverse, no agenda, and the feeling is that you need to grab as much as you can in order to show some achievement, and the political system was really out of order and didn't do actually anything. And maybe the outcome of this government is what we are seeing today in the street. Hopefully the next government will be much more united and will be able to promote things and to create a real debate about the crucial issues coming.
And the question is, how far have we gone? Professor Steinberg still with us via Skype. I know you're chiming in, and sadly you're not around the table, but you wanted to say regarding the picture of Yair Lapid?
I was going to say in general, we have to be careful, first of all, not to take media snippets out of the broader context. There are images like that against all the candidates. They are all entirely unacceptable, but they don't really project much of the mood of the country. And I think we have to be very careful not to take things and overly enlarge them. But the term anger...
I can't minimize an image like that, Professor Steinberg. I'm sorry.
Minimize it, but it does not represent thousands of people. You don't have 1 million hands circulating images like that. So I think there is a tendency to overfocus, and we also have an Americanization of politics. And that's taking place in many countries, but particularly in Israel, it's very painful to watch. And that is, I think Yariv is right, or maybe it was Amnon, that all the parties now are focusing on their bases. What you end up is an election campaign that increases the polarization, and we're certainly seeing that. And when the main theme of a rally that takes place in Tel Aviv is anger, and that's what Dror Ben-Ami said, and that's what we see on our television screens, that's what people in the rally participated in, that's not a positive message at all. It is part of the political process that needs to be focused on. We don't see candidates, and that, again, it's something that one factor leads to the other. You have an angry rally on the left, and then you'll have an angry rally on the right. What you don't have is a voice for the 60% of the Israeli population that are neither left nor right, but that see the complexities. They don't have the large amounts of money, nor do they have the simple slogans to rally. But in fact, what we're going to see in the elections is a large group of the population that is neither happy with the left or the right. And the winner of this campaign is going to be whoever can put together some sort of unity government and start to heal the wounds. And that's going to happen on the morning of the 18th, and it's extremely important. And we're going to forget, or at least get quite upset about the fact that all these very hostile words were said.
But hostile words are being said on either side. That said, very, very valid points, and sadly, all the time we have, because we can debate it forever. I do want to thank all the men in the studio and on Skype for being so civil. That was nice. That said, thank you for being with us. When we get back, part